Welcome to the Warframe Weapon Encyclopedia, where today we're checking out the Jat Kusar. You can get the blueprint for the Jat Kusar from the Grenier or Biolab in your dojo, and to build it you're gonna have to put in 15,000 credits, 7 detonite injectors, 7,500 salvage, 2,000 rubido, and a fully built forma. Now the Jat Kusar is actually quite interesting because it's one of the few fan-made weapons, as you can see here in the original concept by Silverbones, where he called it the Grenier Plasma Kusarigama. Here is another concept picture of the Kusarigama in action. But anyway, the Jat Kusar is a Mastery Rank 11 blade and whip, which does primarily heat damage, but only just about, because it also has a ton of impact damage, and then there's a little bit of slash and puncture on the side. It has relatively low attack speed, which isn't that big of a deal because default Snapdragon, which is the stance for blade and whips, has pretty fast animations, and it comes with very high 35% crit chance, and above average 2.5 times crit multiplier, and a pretty solid 19% status chance. Now on top of all of that, it has a bit of a unique property on its heavy attack, where it causes a small explosion that does blast damage, and its slam attacks do heat damage. As far as the build goes, I personally like the Viro Heat Hybrid the most, where you go with Condi Overload for damage, Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds to scale crit and status, Organ Shatter for crit damage, Berserker Fury for attack speed, and then I run Molten Impact to get a bunch of heat damage, and 2 dual stat mods, 1 unranked and 1 fully ranked to get Viro, and this gives you a pretty solid ratio of heat to Viro. But it doesn't give you any combo sustain, which means you're either gonna have to run a Dexterity Arcane on your primary or secondary, or you're gonna have to use the Naramon Focus School and sustain your combo that way. But it's definitely worth it because the damage you can get out of this setup is absolutely fantastic. You do have to be mindful about which combos you're using though, because the basic button mash on default Snapdragon will lift enemies into the air, so you can easily bonk them out of your range. And speaking about range, if you like to add reach or primed reach to most of your melee weapons, which I tend to do as well, even at the cost of some damage, this weapon doesn't really need it, or blades and whips in general don't really need it. And that's because of the whip part of the blade and whip, which gives you quite a bit of extra range as you swing it around. The Jat Kusar is actually a very solid weapon, so I'm definitely giving it a thumbs up. It's a bit on the pricey side with the detonite injectors and the fully built forma and all that, but I think it's worth it. Especially if you have a Riven for it, because for some reason people just don't use blade and whips all that much, so even though they're all pretty solid, they all have relatively high Riven disposition. Though if you're thinking about getting it just for a Riven, I would highly recommend you check out its official Wikipedia page to double check the disposition just in case something changed, which is why I will leave a link to it in the video description. But anyway, the Jat Kusar, a really fun weapon that doesn't really have that many downsides. It's very strong, it's very fun, and I would absolutely recommend you check it out. I mean, yes, the damage distribution could be better, but you can easily mod around that. And that is pretty much it, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.